All right, so welcome to the Liberty Radio Hour, brought to you by Liberty Coin and Precious Metals. And as a part of our Libertopia series, we're going to be sitting down today with former Libertarian presidential candidate Dick Boddie. Dick, you were the MC of the Sovereign Awards here this weekend at Libertopia, which was sponsored by Liberty Coin and Precious Metals, where you gave some individuals who had lifetime achievement in the pursuit of, what shall we say, freedom, life, pursuit of happiness, liberty.
Yes.
How did that award show go in your mind?
I enjoyed it because, fortunately, the people who received the awards also have a grain of intelligence too, and so when they begin to speak out, you're mesmerized. So between the three people that spoke, you could get history, you could get information you couldn't have gotten ordinarily from anyplace else, and you realize how important these people have been in getting the movement of individual liberty and free markets and all to the point where it is today.
Mm-hmm. Now, you were on stage yesterday with a panel answering questions from the audience, and a woman asked the individuals on stage, of whom was included David Friedman, what you were doing personally in order to preserve your wealth. What do you see the future holding, and how do you feel that individuals can, I won't say come out on top, but at least secure their futures in any ways? What are you doing personally, perhaps?
Well, I use gold as the how would I say, investment of choice, and it has been over the years because, once again, my friend Ron Paul, who people who now know of, he's a presidential candidate in the wrong party, but Ron Paul is a good friend of mine, and when he was in the House Banking Committee years ago, he taught me about the monetary system and also about gold, as did a gentleman from up in the Bay Area named Blummert. What was Blummert's first name? Oh, I forget because I'm in a hurry, but I learned about money and banking and gold through people who were involved with it directly. So I have known that gold is a hedge against inflation and hyperinflation. You could buy a cul-de-sac if you have in the next few years, if you have one block of gold bullion, you get the whole 8 houses in the cul-de-sac to where things are going. But I've always been a gold bug, even though it's not rational to put all your money in gold and silver. But I put much of it in, and over the years I've had to use in bad times. I've had to cash some in. Mm-hmm. But that's where my head has been since 1985, I believe, when it was $2.80 an ounce.
You know, we actually have run into some people that were in that early, and they sort of were able to see the way things were going or were eventually going to go. And they were scared a number of times out of that market. Mm-hmm. They put their money into it during the first Iraqi war or in early on this century. Mm-hmm. And why did you find comfort in holding it there through all those years where gold really did not do much?
Because I know a lot of people who happen to have the tradition of Judaism, and they've been doing that for thousands of years. And I said, even as a child, I would watch my Jewish friends, and I also listened to the anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic stuff and say, what is it that people don't like about Jews? And most of the time, they'd say things that I liked about Jews. Mm-hmm. And so I'm listening, and even in college and in law school, I'm hanging with these guys because I'm not even in their levels. But one of the things I knew that traditionally that was a part of what they did. They carried their gold with them, and their precious metals. And from that point, I'm not that bright, but I'm smart enough to know that if you have inflated currency and you have inflated anything where people in power can change the value of it overnight, that gold as a hedge, and I'm not saying 100% in gold, but damn close in the future. I understood this, and one of the things I pride myself on is once I get information, and if it makes sense to me, I buy it. I buy into it. And the only reason I don't have as much gold as I used to now is because I had an emergency situation where I had to use it, had to cash most of it in. Mm-hmm. But
and we see that today. A lot of people who, when they do cash in their gold, it's because they need to. In which case, they're really just using it as a savings account more so than an investment.
Yes.
And it's good for a lot of these people that they had it.
Oh, yeah. I'd say without a doubt, it's good that I had it.
And so I assume that you prefer a physical delivery than having an ETF.
Physical delivery.
What makes you comfortable about the paper, silver, or gold?
Uncomfortable?
Uncomfortable.
Oh, that it can be. I saw it happen with Liberty dollars. Mm-hmm. The government came in and snatched all of the money all of the gold backing for Liberty dollars that was legitimately supported by certificates.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all those people's gold is now in the hands of the federal government, and they probably sold it by now. Had they had the possession of it, they would not have to worry about the thugs coming in, put the gun at Bernard's head and taking all the money.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that the physical possession to me is, and that's why I deal in coins, is a lot more, in my own mind, it's safer. If I can, that's why I was never big on having a second home. I always say to people with second homes, who's watching that house when you ain't there, man? What's going on in that house? Oh, well, you get a good friend or a neighbor or what? No. I'm not going to chance that because somebody be sleeping in my bed in my second home. Can't do that without me knowing about it. But so that I'm just a little bit anal about that. So I want to hang on to what those assets I have. And I'm not abstract with them anymore. I've tried all sorts of investments and all.
Right. I think interesting enough about what you said, there's been a lot of speculation that maybe one of the things that occurred was when they took the Liberty dollar, the silver that was supposed to be the physical silver that was underlying those dollars, that J.P. Morgan is in an extremely short position as far as silver goes. So that kind of speaks to what we have, what we say all the time in a free market. And right now it doesn't exist because there's an align of the corporate interest with the government interest.
Of course.
We really need to educate people as far as taking that aspect out.
Of course. Just on that point, but a little tangentially, the whole thing with the Wall Street people or whatever they call that, and you and we all know that they're hollering at the wrong people. But the bottom line is, if they really understood, that corporations are chartered by the state, then they're hollering and moaning big corporations and all. Well, that's indirectly hollering at the government because I've set up many a corporation in my law practice before. So that's really an arm of the state. So just go back to the source. And they're the guys with the guns. And they really are skewing any marketplace that seems to be useful to individual citizens. And that's where we are as a society now. I think education and understanding little things like a monetary system, even though I don't agree with Milton Friedman and as a monetarist and all, I do agree with the Austrians. I agree with, because I never bought into the Keynesian economics in college. I took one economics course. It was a guy named Samuelson. It was the textbook. I got a D, barely passed it. I said, this is BS. This isn't real. This is somebody makes up some charts and graphs and stuff. I didn't learn economics until I became active in the libertarian movement. And one of the first books I was given by David Berglund, who was the presidential candidate in 1984, was Road to Serfdom with Hayek. And I read Hayek, and then I read Hazlitt, Economics in One Lesson. And all of a sudden, I'm beginning to say, wow, this makes sense. And you only could find about 5 universities in this country that taught real economics. George Mason University, Grove City College, Hillsdale College, Chapman University, and UCLA on occasion, depending upon who was the head of the economics department, because that's where Walter Williams learned his economics, at UCLA. But I'm fortunate to not have been